It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
Welcome back to Inside the Patch. It's Gnarley Charley along with Brian No. We are like, what are we? I forget what we are. We're the Raiders show, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
I gotta remember that. We're ESPN 1430, your Valley local sports leader, and we are here to discuss the Raiders. Sometimes I say celebrate. Sometimes I say dismantle. It's about the Raiders, and that's what we're doing this week. And I got a question for you. Like, you're a sports guy. Now, there's different levels of sport. Like, are you the type of guy that writes an article about something? Or are you more, hey, I'm like the guy at the zoo giving talks about the cheetahs? Like, you kind of doing that. Like, this is what I know. This is the thing. Or do you find yourself sometimes as a beat writer? Do you ever do any of that kind of stuff?
I'm more so the guy at the bar or restaurant who is strongly opinionated about something, and half the place is like, man, this guy, I like what he's talking about. And the other half is like, they should throw him out.
Well, okay, but that's you. That's the way you. And I bring this up because I think sometimes the sports writers out there, I hate when they say, "Look, I work for the Raiders, but I'm not a fan." Well, you don't have to say that. You don't have to say that. But
right.
But then they want to just lay all this stuff out, and it's not even when they won't say their source, or they say an insider told me. An insider told you? Oh, okay. That's like saying anybody told me. I read it on some stupid website. And I guess it bothers me when I feel like they're creating news instead of reporting it, or it's not even opinion. It's just like, this is what they're saying is happening. It's not sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's two different things. I think that, I get the inside source. I get that, because sometimes if you revealed that source, they wouldn't tell you whatever it was. So sometimes it's legit. Sometimes it's what you're talking about, where it's just made up. It's really just smoke and mirrors. It's a bunch of BS. And there really isn't an inside source. Sometimes you get that. But the whole fan thing, some people still hold true to that, where it's like, I don't root for the team. It's who I cover. And they really want it to be separated, like the church and state thing. They want that to be like your meal. They don't want their food touching type thing. But most of the people that get into this start off as fans. It's not like you were really into, I don't know, environmental studies, and then you ended up covering the Dolphins or something, and you're like, I'm really not a fan. That's typically not how it works at all.
You're a sports fan, and yes. Well, so I used to get the passes to the Raiders locker room after the game. So I'd go in there, and the San Francisco Chronicle, all those guys, Sporting Green, all those guys are there. And if we're playing the Chiefs, these guys are wearing green. They're not wearing red or black. I come in, foam finger, hat, full Raiders jersey, and I'm just, because I'm a fan. And but I don't claim to be I try to be positive about my team. I'm kind of realistic sometimes too, but I approach this as you're probably smarter than me at sports. Anybody out there? That's not my thing. I like the Raiders. I like to see, okay, are we completely out of it yet, or what? We got a chance. I love that. So you say we got a chance. That's kind of where I live, And then I think, as a consumer out there, you're not going to glean a whole lot of new formations from me. That's not my thing, but I am going to tell you, as a fan perspective about it. And I kind of feel like every week when we do this, you're like my psychologist. I really feel that you let me talk, and then you listen, and then you tell me, okay, but here's the reality. Here's the reality of it. And I appreciate that. I like that.
Hey, man, you ride hard for the Raiders,
Yeah.
You don't have to apologize for that. Every now and then you get crazy. You get crazy with, I think they could go on a 19-game winning streak,
Hey, what's the record? It's like when I go to a golf course and I'm checking in. I always go, "Hey, what's the course record?" I always just they're gonna be like, "It's not for you, bud. I don't even need to share that with you."
I don't know if this is true at all, but you strike me the way you think about the Raiders. You strike me as a guy when you go golfing, you don't write down every stroke, right?
Right.
And you might be, I don't know, 15 over, but you just think about a couple of good shots here and there, and you're like, am I under right now? Like that sort of thing.
maybe I'm doing better. One of my all-time golf stories, Pat Hill was the coach of Fresno State, and they had a quarterback club, and it's Copper River Country Club, and he's shotgunning beers like with every foursome. He must have had 25 beers. He's just boom, slamming it. I get up to the tee box. It's a par 3. I'm a lefty. I shake it, not to the water in front, to another lake over here, like in that lake. Big crowd. I re-tee and I put it in the hole.
No kidding.
In front of a crowd, huge crowd. Like all these guys are just flipping out. And I'm like, it's a par. It's par. Just back up. Because you have to buy drinks for the whole anybody that's there if you hit a hole in one.
Oh wow.
I had a 3, so it wasn't.
I get it now. You're like, no.
No,
I'm not
par.
buying anything.
That's par.
A hole in one. Yeah.
Look at my scorecard. That's a par. There's no 1 there. There's a 3.
What? Can we talk about the tournament for a second? What kind of tournament is this? How many are there where it's like you get a hole in one, you win a brand new SUV. You had to buy drinks for everyone if you get a hole in one?
Well, no, it's a kind of a club thing. Most country clubs are that way. If you're there that day, like old man Smith hit a hole in one, you get a free drink, and they just charge it to his account.
No kidding. Yeah.
And some of the clubs offer insurance, so you pay couple $100 a year in case you hit one, and they cover the drinks. I've never bought the insurance.
Wow. How sad would it be to purchase the insurance year after year and never get a hole in one?
Well, that's kind of like me buying the Raiders to win the Super Bowl for 20 years. And then nothing happens. Never had to use it. Never got the it's fun.
That's like an inflated opinion right there. I feel like I'm pretty solid enough to one of these days get that hole in one, and I'm going to need that insurance. And it never happened.
It's like the guy that picks 5 or 6 lotto numbers and calls them his numbers. Now you're obligated to play those numbers all the time, because the one time you don't, it's going to pop up, and then you're committed now, pot committed.
I never thought of this, where if you played the lottery routinely and you mixed up your numbers each time, out of all the different combinations you've had over all the years, would any of those tickets have won any lottery at any time? Now that is kind of interesting.
And probably never. But then you hear those guys that win the lotto, blow through the money, and they hit it again. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? It's like, okay.
There was a story about a lady recently. She won $1 million on a scratch off a while ago, and then won even more recently. You just keep going back to the well, I guess.
It's like, man, I don't invest in stocks and bonds. NASCAR plates and lotto tickets. That's my futures. That's where I think it's the smart way to go.
It's the new way to play the stock market.
Exactly. Well, as the season, man, I don't know. The NFL seems so. There's not like 6 teams or a team that's way better than everybody. I feel like everyone's got their weakness. Niners look really good. They do look good. Yeah. That's hard for me to say, but so do the Eagles sometimes. So do the Bills sometimes.
No, the Bills don't look great at all this season.
Not anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, I hear you, especially in the AFC, it's open. You look at Ravens, Chiefs, Dolphins in the mix. But I think the lower half, as far as the playoff teams go, there is clear separation, because you start getting into Steelers, Browns, And you got quarterback issues, you got health issues. It's like there's a clear separation between the top half and the bottom half of the AFC playoffs.
You know who's sneaking around? The Broncos. They're still bad. They've been beat, but they're not out of it. And I'm like going, oh man, they could go on a 3-game ride and then beat us. I don't want it to happen.
I think they hit their hot streak. They had their 5-game winning streak. Now they're probably going to cool off. Just lost to the Texans. The Texans are right there in the mix. One of these teams that you didn't think was going to be a playoff team, like the Colts. I mean, maybe the Colts sneak in the AFC. One of those teams is going to get in most likely.
Well, the Texans quarterback, isn't he up for Rookie of the Year and MVP possibly?
Yeah. He's on the short list for MVP, which is crazy. CJ Stroud. I've been so wrong about that guy. I thought he was going to massively struggle this year. He's just surrounded by first-round wide receivers all over the place at Ohio State. Not the case with the Texans, but he's been fantastic.
Well, it came out this week that Dave Ziegler, the old general manager for the Raiders who got fired with Josh McDaniels, he wanted CJ. And then McDaniels shut him down. And this is one of the stories I was talking about earlier where I'm like, there's no proof of this, but I kind of think Ziegler is separating himself and leaking these stories because he wants to have a GM job sometime, And what better to say that I was going to pick him and McDaniels shut me down. It's like, to me, that makes better sense,
It's one of those where, is it true, first off?
Right.
Where maybe not. The other thing is, does it really help you? Because I'm sure there are some, team owners out there that think, well, hey, man, is he going to sort of throw me under the bus? Or is he just going to go about his business if I want to strong arm a pick to be made? Right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it really does help you.
I agree. And like we talked about, who knows? We don't know the truth, Is it true? And they can't even figure out if 5 guys shot Kennedy or 1. Nobody knows. And the farther you get away from something, the easier it is to say, yeah, that's how I remember it. That's my truth.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that has happened many times. And how frustrating would that be? There are reports with the Carolina Panthers that the fired head coach Frank Reich, he wanted CJ Stroud. It's been reported numerous times, and the owner stepped in. Dave Tepper was like, no, rather have Bryce Young. If you're Frank Reich, and that's true, think about that for a second. CJ Stroud is going off, and Bryce Young is not. And you lasted 11 games with Carolina before you were fired. If that's true, if that's the way it went down.
That's horrible because that's not the way I wanted. I had no control. I had no picks. If I can get overruled like that, am I really the coach?
Yeah, right. It's I know that's happened numerous times before, but I guess the bigger question is Ziegler coming back with Gruden, or is Gruden just coming back on his own with the new GM? I think
Ziegler's just trying to get in any door. Is what I think it is. And the Gruden thing, you made a good point last week when you said, look, Gruden got caught speeding, and he said, hey, there's other guys that are speeding too, but yet he's still guilty. That was the thing that really stands out to me. I go, that's a good point. It's not that he didn't do it. It just, other people were doing it too. It doesn't help your law. You're still guilty. You still broke the law, the rules,
I hadn't thought about this before with the Gruden thing, because he's never coming back as an NFL head coach. But to walk down this road is maybe instead, this is going to be my new running joke. You're going to get so sick of this. I'm like, hey, instead of just Gruden, what if it's Ziegler and Jamarcus Russell and Robert Gallery? Now
you're talking
about that.
Those hurt. Those words hurt. Jamarcus. We get the first pick, which you dream of. The first pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the best story is they made him a DVD of plays.
Oh, yeah.
Told to watch. But then the truth is it was blank.
Yeah.
And they gave it to him and they asked if he watched it. He said, yeah, I watched it. And
I checked it out. Yeah. A lot of good stuff on that.
Okay, so we now know you're a liar, and this is going nowhere fast. I was there in the stadium when he took the field for the very first time. And that 12 seconds of yelling and screaming was about all we got.
Who was it against? Do you remember?
I don't even remember. I remember, man, maybe it was Miami. I remember it was in Oakland. It was in Oakland. And I just remember they announced his name, and we're like, Jesus is here. Savior is here. It's all going to be better now.
Yeah, that's rough. That's right. Yeah. There are many teams that have had the same experience, man. High hopes, little return.
But then you think of guys like Brady. Brady knows the names of all the teams that passed on him and all the quarterbacks that went before him. And that was his fuel, I guess I would say, Okay. All right. And that's what drove him.
Yeah. It's crazy too. Think about, there are a lot of quarterbacks that don't make it in the NFL, but they become analysts or, they get in the media. Right. And with Jamarcus, if the DVD thing never occurred, I wonder if there might have been a path toward doing that. That crushed anything. You're not going to be on TV anywhere as the guy who said, "Oh yeah, I checked out the DVD. Good stuff on that DVD," and it's blank.
Because that goes to character, man. You know who did make a comeback was Ryan Leaf. I think he did a little flip. Like he had he had his moments, bad press, but he's come back and says host stuff. I like that he's just I was an idiot. Yeah, he owns it. He owns his Leafness.
He's been good. I interviewed him when I was doing the local show in Portland, and I lost the case, I think, of like Diet Dr. Pepper or something like that to Ryan Leaf. He's been a good dude. He's tweeted me a couple of times. I forget, there was one quarterback who threw an interception, and I tweeted something about it. And he disagreed. He's like, "Oh, did you see the route that he ran and broke it off a little bit?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it must have been that." And while the guy is 9 for 22, it must have been a lot of routes that were broken off or something like that. He just rolled his eyes like, "Oh, gosh, you're one of them," Yeah.
Well, he's Fresno State legend Kevin Sweeney. He's a friend of mine. And it's funny because the kids now don't know who he is. Like, his kids are grown. And he told me, I go, don't people recognize? Nah, he goes, no, I'm old, man. I'm the 80s. These people weren't even alive. They don't even know, nothing about me. And he goes, it didn't help when Michael Irvin goes into the Hall of Fame. In his Hall of Fame speech, he says, hey, first couple of years, it was rough. I had a 5'9" quarterback named Kevin Sweeney. I couldn't do crap. And Kevin's like, thanks, dude. Thanks for throwing me in the bad part of your speech, in the growing. Yeah. He was like, what? What did I do?
It's funny if he just envisioned it in his head. And then going back to my college days and my guy Sweeney, and Sweeney stands up and it's me. And it just goes completely differently.
It goes south. It just goes south. Well, Sweeney was talking. He showed me some footage. NFL Films made it, and it's Lawrence Taylor. And they shoot NFL films. They get a close up on it, and you can hear Facinda's voice going, and there he was, the future Hall of Famer. Well, anyway, so Sweeney's quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Herschel Walker's running back. Herschel Walker is supposed to chip him. Herschel Walker does not chip him, and Lawrence Taylor free shot at Sweeney, just free shot, levels him. Well, Sweeney gets up and he's hurt. Lawrence Taylor is hurt. And he goes, so technically I knocked him out of the game. That's his story. That's his version of it.
I love that where, his cleat got caught in the turf or somebody else landed on him. And Sweeney's like, it's because of me. I was working out a little bit more than normal that year, so I can see why.
He stood up and he didn't mean to, but it looked like he was looking over him like, yeah, like, because I wasn't. I was just like, kind of, what happened? And are you okay, man? It was a nice thing, but it looks like he's taunting him. Yeah, okay, LT. All right, get off the ground.
That'd be funny. One of my friends in New York met LT not that long ago, and he got something signed from LT, and he'll write what you want on it, where he's like, baddest MFer alive. I forget something with MFer on it, and then he signs it and all that. So that'd be pretty funny if that's what Sweeney got. All these autograph requests of take that 56.
Yeah.
And signs it.
Put that in your yellow jacket.
Yeah.
Around that.
That's right.
Well, and then after the fact, there's a shot of Tom Landry talking to Sweeney and Danny White's in a sweater. So it was right after the scab years. Anyway, I want to take that footage and put it in front and say, pretend I'm Tom Landry, go, hey, take out 56. He's got to go. Get him out. Mm-hmm. Get him out of there. And then show the sack where he heard him, and then it just ties together nicely. But I heard you can't make fun of Landry, or people will really come after you if you mess with Landry or his image.
I would imagine so. By the way, super quick story for you. Yeah. I played grade school basketball just for a couple of years, and I was really young. This is maybe like 5th grade or something like that. And the coach, I played football. We're playing this game, and one of the other kids from the other team was doing really well. He says, the coach goes, hey, no, or whatever, get in there. And I go by him, and he whispers to me, Gnarly, he goes, take him out.
This is basketball?
This is basketball. This is like grade school basketball. And I'm like, okay, take him out. How am I going to do that? Because I don't want to just go up to him and just, give him a rear naked chokehold and
You're
give him
5th grade. You haven't taken out experience either.
So the only thing I could think of was to try to set a hard pick. So I was trying to get my teammates. I'd be like, hey, go this way, so I can just level this guy. And it never happened. But he told me, I'm like in 5th or 6th grade. He's like, take him out.
That's the difference in coaching. See, no one was going to catch it. There was no Twitter or Facebook. There's no video. Everybody's carrying a movie camera now, so everything is documented. Yeah. You would have got away with no documentation, and then it could have been whatever you said.
Man.
Oh.
Crazy.
All right, so the Vikings, this Dobbs, are they done? Or is he a Cinderella story? Is it going to be...
Yeah, it wasn't a great showing against the Bears. No, not great. When the reports throughout the week are, hey, is it going to be Dobbs or Nick Mullins as the starting quarterback? That's not where you want to be living right now. But yeah, he started off hot. I love the story. I got to interview Dobbs before he, I can't remember. It was before his rookie year. I don't know if he was drafted and then we interviewed him or what, but nicest dude ever.
Did you lose any sodas to him or anything?
No sodas lost to Joshua Dobbs right there. But I hope he can get back on track. I mean, I'm not expecting or hoping for 5 touchdowns against the Raiders. I'm not wanting that. But
right. Well, no, but dude. It's like I flash back to Super Bowl 11 when the Raiders and the Vikings in Pasadena.
Fred Biletnikoff.
Yeah. Biletnikoff, and then Willie Brown picks it off, and and the Vikings at that time they were the 4 times they lost the Super Bowl. I mean they were in the thing all the time, and Fran Tarkenton was their quarterback who could scramble, and he was on That's Incredible too.
What's funny is how you're remembered in your biggest moment. I just think of Willie Brown and Old Man Willie, right?
Yes,
that's how I think of Willie Brown. I don't think of him as a rookie or like a 3rd-year player. I think of him as Old Man Willie his whole career.
Yeah. And the Raider announcer, holy Toledo! It was those, and I guess in those days there wasn't as much footage, so those highlights were just trained in our head.
Yeah.
It was like watching the highlights at Monday Night Football halftime was a big deal. The halftime highlights.
Yeah.
There was no ESPN at the time. There was none of those things. So that's how you got the highlights. And
I'll tell you what, man, some of those shots I'll never forget. Just that extreme close up, the slow motion of Old Man Willie with the interception and just chugging. I'll never forget that. And it's kind of cool because you think about how things progressively get better look at TV. Look at the NFL on TV now. They have it down to a science. It's really, really good.
The first down yellow line. I love that.
Yeah. But you go back to those games, Super Bowl 11, man. We're going on Super Bowl 58. Think about all the advancements with how the game is shot, and still that old school stuff, it still stands up. There are some iconic shots throughout the years.
Well, and they didn't have as many cameras, so it was even a little more incredible. Now they had that one on like a little go-kart thing that was up high. It would go across, and a couple ones on the field. But that was it. They didn't have there's probably 80 cameras now going at any given game. High def. You can see if they got a pimple on their face. You can see the blades of grass.
Sure.
And in the 70s, they would put up those like what do they call it? Where you put over the screen. That was the graphics. It would be on a thing. They stick it over the lens.
Right.
And that was the graphic. It was like,
that's crazy, man. It really is.
It's nuts. In 1988, I was working at Wimbledon as just a gopher, right? I'm sitting down next to this guy and I'm talking to him, having a great conversation. Old guy. And all of a sudden I realized this is Charlie Jones, the announcer of the Raiders.
Oh, wow.
And I go, wait. And I just germed out. I'm like, can you say touchdown Raiders? He goes, touchdown Raiders. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm sitting here eating with you. And I totally flipped out. I just flipped out, And I was like, I'm sure
you've heard that request.
Oh, yeah. I was like, because he's doing all the games. But it was just like, but I talked to him for 20 minutes before I even, just something about it. I go, wait a minute, I don't even think I knew his name was Charlie Jones. I just knew he was the guy that was on the TV,
By the way, you know what it makes me think of? So we have a mutual friend, Danny Hill. He's a fellow radio guy. And it's funny because Danny Hill, these guys in music radio, you probably know this all too well, Gnarly. These guys in music radio, they've got girls. They've got pretty girls coming after them. They're like local celebrities. I'm like, it doesn't work like that for sports radio.
We had a nice take, but
no, it's like the 40-year-old guy. It's like, hey man, I listen to the show. I really like it, which is cool, which is awesome. I always love that stuff. But if we could just mix in a crazy hot blonde from time to time, it's like I listen every day and you've got an in, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I think of when you're talking about the Raiders announcer. How many times has he heard from middle-aged guys, hey, can you do the touchdown Raiders thing? There's not some smoking redhead that's like, oh my gosh, I've always been a Raiders fan.
Well, so let me tell you, I came from the music era. I'm older now, right? And I'll see some smoking hot chick come up to me. She goes, oh my gosh, my grandma loves you.
Oh, no.
And let's just say when I was a kid, she made me listen to you. It's like 2 slaps.
It's just so funny to me because as guys, we're wired for, hey, maybe.
Hey.
So just like he starts off with the eyes and just, oh my gosh.
I'm like, fish on. Fish
about to pay off here. My grandma loves you.
Loves you. Can I take a picture with you and send it to her? I go, that would be perfect. That would be great.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
That's the reality of it, though,
Yeah.
So,
hey, man, that's the way it goes.
That's so funny. Well, so Dobbs is going to play for the Vikings. The Raiders are playing him at home. I would say Antonio Pierce's job is on the line. If we don't get it done against the Vikings, then I don't see them hiring him. Honestly, I think it's that time now.
Well, there's not a lot of margin for error. That's the way it is because Mark Davis is going to want a big name. And Antonio Pierce is going to have that resume. He's going to have a lot of wins as the interim head coach. And it started off really well. It did. He's done a good job, but got to win a bunch of games to have a legitimate chance.
Well, and I think if he would have pulled off that Chief win, that would have sunk us in there, but we still got to play him again.
Yeah.
We got to play the whole division one more time. You talk about that could have impact on it's really in your hands now,
Yeah. How about the Chiefs too, by the way? Just lost to Green Bay.
What's going on?
They don't look like themselves.
Well, and Taylor Swift, I'm sure she's going to write a song about this pretty soon, right?
Oh, that was funny because Taylor Swift is the person of the year for Time. And her quote was hilarious where when she went to the Chiefs game against the Bears in week 3, that was the first public appearance. Yeah. And she said we had been dating before that time. And she was like, we're not psychotic enough to hard launch a first date like that. I just thought that was hilarious. Great wording.
Yeah, to hard launch a first date. Well, I heard people were saying they're not even together. NFL's doing this for publicity and blah, blah, blah. But you never know. I remember when she played for us out at Woodward Park. I remember when she opened for the guy that's nobody now. I remember she called my night show, and we talked for an hour.
Wow.
I have zero footage of that, anything of that.
No, yeah.
I do think I have her saying Gnarley Charley is the best DJ ever. I think I have that on video somewhere.
Yeah.
It's somewhere. It's in one of the hard drives. So I'm about to break that out now that she's Woman of the Year.
Oh man, yeah, that's amazing right there. But isn't that crazy? Where you never know. You never knew at the time she was going to be this mega star.
Yeah, she's getting up there with the Jesus. She's like Oprah and Jesus. I think they did a thing saying like Oprah has her name is more famous than anybody in the world, but Taylor Swift might be up there now.
Yeah. Is it like Jesus, Oprah, Taylor Swift, Ziggler? Is that the order?
So. I think Zig's trying to get in there, but I think Oprah might have passed Jesus up. I think
Oh wow, really? I didn't realize. Yeah. Wow, got to recheck those power rankings.
Or she is Jesus. We don't know. We don't know. Maybe Jesus has come back as Oprah. We don't know.
Mind blown right there.
All right, Brian, thank you so much. We get the Vikings this week. We'll see what happens. And how much longer?
Black, let's bring back Super Bowl 11, right?
That's it. And how much longer do I have to keep this dolphin on my Twitter? Is it closer? Do I get another week on that? Because I'm like,
props to you for keeping that. It's funny. I thought about that right before we started the show, and it's at least another week. I'll get back to you on that because I think we said a full month.
Yeah, I think so. It's time. It's Christmas season. I don't want to get dolphin stuff for Christmas now because people go, I must like the Dolphins.
You know what? Let me refresh it for this last week. Let me get you a really aqua type logo so it's clear for this last week, and then we'll call it good.
Okay. All right. I'm sadly scared about this. So perfect. All right, Brian, we'll see you next time right here for Inside the Patch.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.